voice. Somos la voz del océano.
We are the voice of the ocean.
Somos la voz del océano.
Tayo ang boses ng karagatan.
Somos la voz del océano.
Je suis la voix des océans.
We are the voice of the ocean.
Somos la voz del océano.
Somos a voz do oceano.
Somos la voz del océano.
Mini Apu Baby.
Kami samudra ka bajo.
We are the voice of the ocean.
Somos la voz del océano.
We are the voice of the ocean.
Besinchtin o ocean.
Somos la voz del océano.
Awani Agborosokun.
Somos la voz del océano.
Kita adalah suara laut.
Nous sommes la voix de l'océan.
Hamhe Samanda.
Nous sommes la voix de l'océan.
احنا صوت المحيط.
Siamo la voce dell'oceano.
Somos la voz del océano.
Somos la voz del océano.
Jesteśmy głosem oceanu.
We are the voice of the ocean.
We are the voice of the ocean.
Somos la voz del océano.
Nous sommes la voix des océans.
We are the voice of the ocean.
Sommes la voix de l'océan.
Nosotros somos la voz del océano.
Nous sommes la voix de l'océan. Une voix, un océan.
Somos la voz del océano.
Nous sommes la voix de l'océan.
We are the voice of the ocean.
Somos la voz del océano.
Guys, just to say, we are the voice of the ocean. One voice, one ocean.
Somos la voz del océano. Un planeta, un océano, una voz.
Nosotros somos Ocean Boys.
Oceans Working Group, Plan for the Planet, SN Youth, and also a SDG promoter. So I'm very glad to have you today on board, and over to you, Luciana.
Thank you, Cutter. Welcome, distinguished panelists, the ADEX community in collaboration with Blue Hole Campaign, and welcome to all our viewers here in Facebook. It is my pleasure to be here. My name is Luciana Verástegui, and I will be the moderator and panelist of this conference titled Next Gen Leaders with Global Mindset. We will now proceed with the agenda session. First, each panelist will talk for 10 minutes environmental education for leadership and discussing different aspects and methods of formal and or experiential learning. Therefore, we will continue with question and answer session for 10 minutes. We know furthermore to say, our first speaker, Hanhausen from Mexico. The floor is yours, Ana. I will share my screen.
Thank you, Luciana. I'll wait for your screen to show up.
And you see the presentation?
Not yet.
Yes, sorry. I will share it. I think we have it.
Yes.
Yep, we have it.
Okay, thank you again, Luciana, for the great introduction. My name is Anna Hanhausen, and first they asked me to talk a little bit about my background and myself and everything. So I think in order to do this well, I need to talk first about how I got involved with environmental projects. So it was around 2017 that I helped organize a sustainability congress in Mexico City. And I thought it was really interesting, but I didn't really get that much into different projects. It didn't really push me to make a change in my lifestyle. It wasn't until a couple months later that I decided to watch every documentary on environmental issues that I had heard of. And that's when I started realizing about how much information was there and how many big problems we were facing, and that I wasn't doing anything to reduce my footprint. The first documentary I watched was Chasing Coral, and I realized that my carbon footprint was really big and I really needed to make some changes. Then I watched The Plastic Oceans, and a couple months later, the producer of the documentary came to Mexico City, and I had the chance to help him out to do a screening in my university. And from then on, I started working in the new branch of this international organization, Plastic Oceans International, called Plastic Oceans Mexico. I've worked with them for over 2 years, implementing different projects that I'll talk about in the next slide. And from there, I was contacted to talk in different panels and conferences. So in March of this year, I was invited to participate in a World Sustainable Development Forum, where a new idea for a youth-led organization came out called Pop Ocean. So I've been collaborating there as well since March. Also, because of these different activities and everything, I was awarded the Youth Merit Medal by the Congress of Mexico City earlier this year. And what I like to say about that medal is that it's good that the government of Mexico City is recognizing the importance of the youth in environmental action. And from what the people in the Congress and everything said, they would really like to make legislation to move forward with this. Luciana, could you help me with the next slide?
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk for a couple of minutes about the current projects I'm involved with. All of them are with Plastic Oceans Mexico and Pop Ocean. So with Plastic Oceans Mexico, one of our main branch is, our main focus is education. We do this through a series of documentaries, for example, A Plastic Ocean, Earth Seco, Out of Plastic, and we implement educational programs and make them transform into active change for the people who see them and are aware now. Our main project here in Mexico is called Rethink Refill. And it's a project that we implement in schools, particularly primary school and secondary school, where the kids get an introduction session to why plastic is harmful to the environment and to our health. We install an eco-filter and we give reusable bottles to the students. And the teachers get a handbook on how to implement and like into the curriculum of the kids, being plastic free and reducing their plastic footprint. Another thing we do to raise awareness with Plastic Oceans Mexico is cleanups and special events. Even though we're based in Mexico City, which doesn't have which isn't near a coastal area, it's important to raise awareness about how 80% of the trash that ends up in the ocean comes from non-coastal communities. So what we do is different cleanups around green areas in the cities and explain to the people how easy it is for this trash to end up in the oceans if it goes into a body of water. Then with Pop Ocean, we do certain panels and summits where we raise awareness to the youth about the environmental issues regarding our oceans. So for example, this Monday, we had the Pop Oceans Virtual Summit where we had former heads of state, talk about the importance of the ocean, the relationship between the health of the ocean, and the importance of the ocean to the economy. So with this, we try to really raise awareness about why the oceans are vital to our lifestyles and how much they really impact our way of living. Some projects we're planning with Pop Ocean are an educational workshop, youth-led, which will start on the 24th, and a literacy workshop for everyone to learn about all these pressing issues we're facing. Luciana, if you could pass to the final slide, please. Finally, I'd like to talk about my vision. I think one sentence that really puts it all together is that we're as much part of the problem as we can be of the solution. We know the problems, we know our footprint, and now it's time to act and reduce it and really make changes in order to harm the environment much less than we're doing that now. Thanks to some webinars I attended by the World Academy of Art and Science, I got this idea of the youth as drivers of change. So basically, different social transformations that have happened across the years have happened because the youth were uncomfortable with the situation that was happening, and they stood up and made their voice heard in order to governmental and corporational changes to be made. For this, we really do need proper skill development, especially in the leadership area, and our actions must be based in scientific knowledge, so we know how we need to canalize our energy in order for our actions to be effective. Finally, I'd like to talk about the importance of collaboration and inclusion. We really need multilateral collaboration when we talk about environmental projects, because we need to talk within different generations, because people, for example, in this Pop Ocean Virtual Summit, we had the chance of listening to former heads of state about how their the questions that really made them think outside of the box were always coming from the youth. So this makes you realize that even though we think of ourselves like, oh, maybe I don't have enough power, I don't know enough about this subject, we really can get the people in the government to think about like different ways they can approach the issue. Also, it's important for people with different backgrounds to interact, because people with different backgrounds are aware of different pressing issues. So for example, I live in Mexico City. I am very aware of air pollution, and 2 weeks ago, I had the chance to be in a webinar with people from Ecuador who were really aware of deforestation. So it's really important to talk about like the different issues we're most worried about in order to really make a collaboration and solve this issue in an inclusive way. Also, making everyone part of the solution will make everything move faster towards a more sustainable future. Thank you, Luciana. Back to you.
Thank you, Anna. What an amazing presentation. We will now proceed with our second panelist, Kisha Rodriguez from Philippines. The floor is yours, my friend Kisha.
Hello, everyone. Is my audio clear?
Yes.
So, hello, everyone. I'll start. Good day. And I am Kisha Rodriguez from the Philippines to give you a glimpse about my country and what I am doing. I came from the center of marine biodiversity. It's called the Amazon of the Sea and top of the Coral Triangle. So I grew up near a coastal area, and at an early age, I was able to witness the drastic change brought about by humans. So I've been exposed to a lot of field works, volunteer works, and I started my journey there. Now I am still a volunteer, both national and international. And yes, I've been volunteering since I was 14 years old. But now this is also my professional career. Currently, I am working as the Oceans Campaigner of Greenpeace Philippines. I am a biologist, diver, researcher, and a certified marine conservation advocate. I am also a part of the Young Go Oceans Working Group and attended COI 15 and COP25. And also, I am now leading a youth-led nonprofit organization called the Sea and Terrestrial Environment Protectors in the Philippines. So now let's proceed to the next slide, please. So in this time and age, we have to figure out our own strategies and approaches because each community have different demands and practices. In our case, we are based on experimentation and evaluation. We believe that output-based and experiential learning leads to individual commitment and engagement. So for now, we are trying to utilize and amplify this kind of approach. And because of this, majority of our projects and initiatives mostly revolved around grassroots and field exposure. So we have outdoor leadership for conservation camps. We teach essential skills like basic free diving, mangrove, seagrass, and coral reef assessment, marine protected areas biodiversity assessment, project planning, writing to pitching, writing to leaders, and we also have interactive and fun youth gatherings like Climate Strike for Oceans. We also have seminars, workshops, both online and offline. But mostly we go outdoors into different communities that's really affected with the current issue, like a community with a sea level rise concern or coral degradation, illegal fishing, areas with contaminated water, especially polluted with plastics and etc. So for this, we are trying to pioneer intergenerational collaboration. We launched a mentorship series program to bridge the gap between the youth and some experts. We are now trying to build deeper relationships for learning and at the same time for creating stronger and wider networks for co-creation, conversation, and collaboration. And of course, by far, our best approach is citizen science. That means citizen led data gathering for research and marine conservation. Because there's a certain misconception in conservation to others that if we want to actively participate in this kind of strand of work, we have to have like a citizen related background or education, which is wrong because all of us have a role to play and we should utilize that based on our skills and our own capacities. So, by far, with the help of our board of directors, passionate members, partners, and volunteers, we are now able to establish a 7-hectare marine protected area. This is the first prototype where we partnered with a vulnerable fisher folk community because we all know that our fisher folks are really vulnerable because they are directly affected by climate change. And now they are being educated to be our effective partners and pioneers in managing this marine protected area. And at this moment, we have 300 plus mobilized citizen scientists and volunteers, and I am proud to have them and to see them grow as part of this advocacy. So my next slide, please. So what is my vision for change? And yes, I believe that all of us have a similar vision, and that is to regenerate our ocean's health. So because of this, I also believe that conservation starts with a sense of compassion and empathy. So first one, we have to have like environmentally mindful and engaged youth in protecting the sea and terrestrial environment of the Philippines. And of course, I also believe that you have the same goal for your country. Second, we also have to like have an intergenerational collaboration to bridge the gap between the youth and some experts because that's the issue now. We have this gap. And we also have to have like citizen led participation for change because citizens can be movers for change. So that is through innovative and engaging campaigns. And lastly, for ocean emergency, because right now we are at the emergency stage. So we want to address this kind of emergency, especially strengthen marine management and conservation through policies, especially the NDCs. So we have to work right now, is knowing that COP26 was moved to 2021. So we have more time to work and prepare, especially in connecting with the people in our country. So let's try to introduce the importance of ocean for climate action and especially revise the NDCs. For now, we only have 7 countries submitted their revised NDCs. That's over 192 countries. So for now, we have to reimagine our strategies, and especially with the pandemic right now, the fishery sector was one of the affected and vulnerable sector with COVID-19. And in some countries, the fisheries sector also played a big role for food assistance. Yes, we have to reimagine the future that we want post COVID-19 because we want a better normal, a just and inclusive normal. So right now, more and more people are being aware, and that's a good thing of what's happening. So we have to build our communities. That's the first role for us. and pioneer citizen-led or local-led community actions, create inclusive spaces or platforms for collaboration and conversations. And lastly, we have to work together in systems, and we have to think that each one of us has a role to play. So we have to bring back people back to nature for them to care, because you can't love what you don't know, and you cannot protect what you don't love. That's based on my mentor. So that's from my mentor. So um, again, let's bring back people to nature and show them why we need to protect it. That's all. Thank you. And back to you, Luciana.
Wow, thank you, Kisha. That was wonderful. It is now the turn of our third panelist, Harison Ashanwa from Cameroon, and the floor is yours, my friend.
Can you hear me? Is my
Yeah.
audio?
Yeah,
All right.
we hear you.
Good, good. Okay, thank you very much. I will start this presentation with a presentation with a with an overview of myself. So I am Harrison from Cameroon. Please, can you go to the next slide? I'm Harrison from Cameroon, and I have an MSc in environmental engineering. Alongside that, I'm also an environmental advocate, consultant, and researcher. Normally, I have been leading the environmental movement in Cameroon as the national director of the International Student Environmental Coalition, and I've also been appointed as a board member based on our work in Cameroon. I'm also a social entrepreneur. I lead a couple of projects addressing environmental issues in Cameroon. So, I would like to talk more about what we have been doing as the International Student Environmental Coalition in Cameroon. First of all, the International Student Environmental Coalition is a network of over 35 countries that work together with young people, with students in different countries to try to change the conception that climate change is bigger than anyone else. So what we do is we inspire change in students that they can lead the environmental movement in their countries and then take action against climate change and foster environmental protection and collaboration. So ISEC has been existing in Cameroon for the past 3 years, and our work so far has been quite impactful. I don't know if you can go to the next slide. So what have we been doing so far with ISEC? So basically what we do is we started working with students and young people. We believe that if we can change the narrative about environmental protection in general, not just climate change, we need to start with young people, and we decided to start with students. So what we do is we educate students about climate change, about environmental protection and conservation, and how they can take little actions to impact change in their community. In Cameroon, so far, we educate over 15,000 students about climate change, environmental protection and conservation. That's in the whole of Cameroon. And then other African countries also, because we're in 30 countries, other countries also are also doing what they are doing in their countries, but that's the impact of Cameroon. So we also believe in local mitigation strategies towards climate change. And the first thing that we did was planting trees. So we planted over 700 trees as an organization in Cameroon, just to encourage people that they could also take action. And then we also believe that setting environmental clubs in schools, because as our program was going on, we noticed that most of the students wanted to be engaged in environmental protection and conservation, but then there was no platform for them. So we decided to set up clubs in schools. So that was an avenue that we could reach out to more students and keep them engaged, keep them learning more about the environment and the challenges that we are facing as a world. So we set up 5 environmental clubs that we currently run, and we are planning to set up more. So it's a platform where we continuously engage young people. And then, as a matter of fact, we've done a lot. We've attended, like as the national director of Cameroon, attended 6 international conferences where I've spoken on environmental sustainability and the fight of climate change in Cameroon and in Africa in general. So we've also been invited by the government of Cameroon to look at how young people can contribute towards environmental protection and conservation. And then we also launched Plan for the Planet, an initiative in Cameroon where we encourage students. It's like an inter-school tree planting competition that we encourage students to plant trees. So the schools that plant more trees get an award and they get recognized for the work they are doing. So basically, that's what we've been doing as the International Student Environmental Coalition in Cameroon. But I would like to mention that though the focus of this presentation was all about the ocean, and I believe that as an environmental engineer, I design solutions to address environmental problems, not just a terrestrial environment. We also design dams and stuffs that exist in water. So basically, I think that it is high time that we don't only identify particular area, because the ocean, there's an interaction of the ocean with land and with the air. So I think that we shouldn't only focus on one aspect of the environment, because as a young person in Africa, what I've noticed is that climate advocacy and all the initiative towards climate change is tailored just towards the land. So there's like focusing particularly on the ocean is actually mild or minimal. There's that minimal impact towards the ocean. But I believe that we should try to link up everything together, because the ocean is also as important as land. But human beings will try to focus on land because that's where we live, and the temperatures are actually felt. We feel the impact of climate change on land because we are on land, but the ocean is always like somehow neglected. But I think that we should be linking up everything together. So we shouldn't just focus on the ocean. We shouldn't just focus on land. We shouldn't just focus on air. But we link every component of the environment together. So if you look at the next slide, we'll look at how some of the engagements that we've had with young people in Cameroon. And it is worth mentioning that the environmental movement, is something that is like, I'm looking at the African perspective. The environmental movement at an African perspective is still yet to garner momentum, because from my experience as a young person in Africa and Cameroon in particular, I believe young people still lack this passion. So when I meet a lot of young people, I talk to them, they ask me, why am I even taking care of the environment? Why am I doing what I'm doing? So that lack of passion is still not, there. So it's something that is a challenge that we are facing. But I think most of them lack passion because they don't know the impact of human activities on the environment, the ocean, land, water. But when you educate people and they know what the impact of the activity is on the environment, they are more conscious. So it's a challenge that we have in Cameroon and in Africa in general. But I believe that with more collaboration and synergy amongst young people and environmentalists, environmental advocates in the continent and all over the world, things might obviously change. But it's a daunting task, but I believe it's possible. So if the next slide, please, let me see if there's the next slide is, and the next slide is talking about, so over the years, the slide before this, the slide with the pictures, let me just say a couple of things about. So despite for 4 years that I've been doing this, we faced a lot of changes. But despite that, I believe that the passion that we have as young people has kept us going, because there are times that we have confrontation with local authorities and even the government sometimes. So it has been a challenge, but we are trying. So we are trying to change the narrative in the country and Africa in general. So the last slide that will try to talk about my vision. The next slide. So generally as a young person who has been leading this environmental movement and activists, having worked with activists all over the world, I've worked with activists from Africa, Europe, Asia, and even in North America. So I believe that it is not only important to get young people to be taking action towards protecting the environment, fighting climate change, environmental protection, and conservation. I believe it's also high time that we get their voices heard at the level of policies. If we are making environmental policies and we don't get the voices of young people, it'll be quite difficult because my my experience as an engineer in Cameroon is that some of the policies that are geared towards environmental protection are just so very absurd. And I believe that young people's perspective will make a lot of difference towards promoting sustainable development and sustainability in general. So young people I believe we should take action, like get people to take individual action and collective action towards protecting them, be it the ocean, be it land, be it the air, the atmosphere. But our voices should also be heard at the level of policies. So for the past years, I've been trying to get to the level where I can make the point for young people. So I've gotten myself involved with a couple of organizations and then with even the local government of Cameroon. So we have been contributing because in ISEC we have a political working group where we write propositions to local government. So I believe that at that level it is changing because we try to also look at the education program. So we propose something to the government. I think they will consider it. And I believe more young people should get to the level where they can give policy recommendations to, to our officials. We shouldn't only be taking action, but we should also propose policies. And I believe the next thing as a vision is collaboration among us. A lot of organizations, a lot of young people doing amazing work in Africa and maybe in Asia, in Europe. But I think collaboration is key to the environment. We cannot manage on an island. We should collaborate, share our experiences, share our challenges, share the vision so that together we can save the oceans, save the environment. Since there's no planet B, we can save the environment. So collaboration is key. It is through this collaboration that we can have intergenerational dialogue between the leaders and the younger people. So collaboration is key, and I believe that this is the platform for collaboration. I've heard amazing things that you are doing, and if I have something that I can learn from your experience, it will be great. So let's keep collaborating for the future of our planet. So thank you. That's all that I could present within this short period of time.
Thank you. You were stunning, and it is true how everything is interconnected. And now I will give the floor to my friend Daniel Sabellano, and she is from Philippines. So the floor is yours, my friend. Let me change.
So, hello everyone. Compared to the other speakers, I'm probably the person who is super new to this speaking experience. So, pardon me if I sound nervous. I'll start by introducing myself. So, hello, I'm Daniel Savellano, a 17-year-old science high school student from the Philippines, with dreams of becoming a microbiologist and maybe even a marine biologist. I'm here today to talk to you about my love for the environment, especially the ocean, and how I protect it. When I was younger, my family and I would always visit our province and go to the beach. As a child, I simply enjoyed activities such as swimming, surfing, and diving. And as I grew older, I started becoming more aware of the environmental issues present in our country. This led to my passion for the ocean and marine ecosystems. Last summer, my friends and I volunteered at a marine and wildlife geo-reserve, and we traveled a few hundred miles and kept track of the local flora and fauna found in the island. We also took care of the surroundings by having daily cleanups at the beach. During this experience, I was able to see a whole island full of colorful animals flying around, crawling, and swimming freely with no restraint. So it was really a beautiful experience that I still find myself going back to this until this day. So behind that beauty of nature, I was also able to see how true it is that what we dispose of ends up somewhere. So despite it being a secluded sanctuary away from civilization, the island was still visited by trash coming from different cities and countries. This was evident from the package labels that they had, and some of them included plastic so small that you were unable to obtain them. So, this is one of the reasons why, before heading back home during the end of the trip, we took a pledge to take care of Earth and all of its inhabitants. And while we've been doing this before, I believe that this trip truly strengthened my passion for the environment. So today, I continue my pledge to Mother Earth through my research and organizational work, which can be found in the next slide. So originally, I focused more on action-based initiatives like cleanups. And although they are important and I participate in them until today, I think that there is a need for more solutions that are long-term. So as a student from the Philippine Science High School, which is a research school in my country, I conduct research inside and outside my school. Currently, I'm working as the lead researcher on a study on utilizing algal blooms to generate renewable energy for an eco-learning digital platform. So in this slide, you will be able to see the logo for our project, which is called the Generator Project. And we aim to utilize algal blooms due to their effect on health and aquatic ecosystems. You will also see an image showing our goal, which is to generate clean and affordable energy and to enhance education and implement our project in selected communities in the Philippines while minimizing our carbon footprint. I'm also currently working on a paper with my partner JD Hanovas, which talks about the transmission of zoonotic diseases and its relation to the environment and the pandemic. We aim to present this in such a way that it is easily understandable or at least easy to visualize by everyone, such as through an infographic. We initially started this paper during the start of the school year, but decided to continue it now due to how timely it is. So, as stated earlier, I also involve myself in with organizations such as UNEP MGCY, where I designed an environmental activity toolkit which acts as a resource for children to use and engaging them with the environment. So this was created for World Environment Day and features different activities such as art, virtual museums, and games. Additionally, I also work with Wayfarers, which is a youth-led education-based environmental program organization in the Philippines. In Wayfarers, I took the lead as the head organizer for Call for Change 2020, which is a webinar series we launched last May 29, 2020. During the first two sessions, we tackled topics relating to the environment, such as the pandemic and global sanitation. We had around 190 participants during the first two sessions from countries such as the Philippines, Indonesia, Africa, and more. With this, we aim to give people a platform to share their knowledge about various topics. We also aim to have more webinars in the future and possibly even educational outreaches and seminars. So in the next slide, you will be able to see my vision, which could probably be seen in the past projects that I've done. So for example, with Wayfarers, I aim to help solve environmental problems by spreading awareness of the environment and empowering the youth to take action now. In addition to that, I envision a world wherein members of the youth constituency are empowered to take the lead. So regardless of their background, I want the youth to be the center of this movement. And I believe that science and technology should serve the people and that people should be able to easily access information. Information should be shown in ways that are easily understandable with the intention to educate instead of confusing the audience. As a member of the youth, it is important for us to act no matter how big or small these acts may be. I myself am obviously not yet a professional by any means. I'm a student like many members of the youth, and I'm simply advocating for change. But I believe that our micro efforts have macro effects if all of us participate and try to make waves of change together. So we have the voice, we have the capacity, and we have the power to utilize technology to fight for environmental action and protection. So why not do it now, right? So I'm going to be ending my presentation with a call to action for the youth. There are plenty of opportunities out there. Find one aligned to your passion and fight for it. And that is all. Thank you so much for listening. Yay.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you. I think you did it great and you are so inspiring. And I'm very proud of you, my friends. And congratulations, everyone, for sharing your activism and sharing your time with us. Last but not least, it is my honor to be here and sharing and being heard. There are so many people willing to be listened, and now I'm having this opportunity. I will introduce myself. Okay, so my name is Luciana. I'm a 17-year-old Mexican woman, and I also participated at the COI 15 and the COP25, is the Conference of the Parties and the Conference of the Youth with the NGO Plan for the Planet. Right now, I'm intern in the company Plurals Consulting, and I'm an active member of Plan for the Planet. I'm SDSA Mexican promoter and Quintana Roo promoter, that is my state. I'm also an active member of SDSA Youth Mexico, Worldwide Environmental Education Program, and I'm honored to tell you that I'm a focal point of Youngest International Youth Ocean Voice Working Group. Raise your voice, not the sea level. For our goodness, but also disadvantage, everything is interconnected. The topics I'm passionate about are the education, but not any kind of education. I'm referring about environmental education based in quality and also the ocean. These may seem apparently two different topics that aren't related, but it does. These two topics are complex topics, and I will show you how is this connected. Let me start with a Latin American perspective. In Quintana Roo, state in Mexico, environments such as school lack on transversality and specific teaching objectives of this problem that is climate change. The school should be the first spaces for activism in favor of caring the environment where the skills are acquired, but not in this case. UNESCO considers that quality of education must be locally important and culturally appropriate, and they be for the present and prepares people for the future. Middle higher education in Quintana Roo does not meet the standards indicated by UNESCO, partially follows the guideline, and is not consistent with what is proposed as quality education of sustainable development, and lacks of specific objectives and strategies for learning theoretical and practical education. Education is a human right. Consequently, quality education supports all human rights. Environmental education in Mexico is not oriented to practicality, and they are very repetitive. It can be seen in this type of conference, such as the Conference of the Climate Change, the UNFCCC, where the Mexican, or in general, youth participation were minimal or isn't enough. So, after research that two of my classmates and I made, which we evaluated the educational system, it is concluded that it is difficult and time-consuming change an entire system, but it is necessary to do it. So, for example, in my school, only 10 of 450 students, which means 0.5%, are environmental activists or have belonged to an NGO that supports this cause. And let me tell you that this doesn't apply just in Mexico, but also education in all over the world. It is essential to review, adjust, and update these education systems. We all know that changing education system is hard, so we recommend to implement environmental education and environmental council in all the schools where it's conformed by teachers and students. This council is recommended to follow the concepts and language that are used in international conference, and they may well be the agenda of these councils. In the same way, a transversal environmental is proposed in which the environmental issue is included in all subjects using the IPCC reports as reference, international agreements such as Paris Agreement, the SDGs, and other official resources. And these councils may implement to start projects that may adapt with the area which they live. For example, me in Mexico, in Cancun, Quintana Roo, we need to adapt them towards mangroves, coastal zones, or blue carbon. We need to take action. We need to take out the idea of consumerism and change our way of living. This way we can empower more youth and make them more conscious about their surroundings. Now, we need more, we need more people able to raise their voice and change on where we are vulnerable and to what is an opportunity. For example, me, of what am I vulnerable? I like to tell you that I'm vulnerable because of my gender, because of my age, because of the place where I live, because of the people that have the power and are taking bad decisions. I live in a coast zone, but why is this a problem? Well, let me tell you that people are destroying the mangroves, species are dying, and we continue in the same path. Cancun, Quintana Roo, Mexico has lost in 50 years 55% of the mangroves. For us, this ecosystem is our protection and is your protection too. This ecosystem absorbs the emission of CO2 5 times more than the forest. I'm not here to tell you that I'm a victim because we all are. I'm here to tell you that this injustice needs to stop. We need justice. We need justice for nature, justice for our environment, justice for our society, justice for each human being. We need powerful voices. We need conviction. We need to work as one, and we need action. That's why after my participation in the COP15 and the COP25 with the people I met there, we are empowering voices of many youth, which is important to emphasize that we can with an advisory board, and because we believe it's essential this exchange of ideas and knowledge between the adults and young people. We are the Young International Ocean Voice Working Group, and we are actively working to raise the profile of ocean consideration. We need the United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change, the UNFCCC. And we come together to develop solutions for climate change, mitigation, and adaptation, particularly in priority areas impacting or impacted by the ocean. The global ocean and Earth climate system are linked and neither are constrained by national borders. The international collective of passionate, knowledgeable, and action-oriented youth within the network called UNFCCC to acknowledge the importance and value of the ocean issues for successful implementation of the Paris Agreement and make progress of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Young itself, it's a network official youth constituency of the UNFCCC, and the team is conformed by 90 people from all over the world, as you can see here in the picture, and our general objectives are prepare and empower. Prepare and empower youth on the theme of ocean, obtaining the exchange between specialists and the energy and initiative of young people, creating an inclusive and collaborative space where everyone can participate and share their ideas. Global contribution. Contribute to global ocean knowledge dissemination around key opportunities working with local, regional, international platforms. Elevate the urgency. Elevate the urgency of addressing ocean issues at COPs and UNFCCC events through topic preparation, research, coordinated press, and social media after crafting specific policy asks. Hold accountable. Pressure government to stay accountable and set a vision climate change action goals in conjunction with the Paris Agreement. As the Young International Ocean Voice Network, our mission is to hold leaders accountable in taking our visions and proactive action towards ensuring global ocean health is preserved and mitigate severe effects of climate change. And how is this important? There was a video that I saw of an incredible human being where it said that everything is connected and we need to understand it to know where we can do it. We need to, the ocean make the earth habitable. And when I saw that video, it starts seeing it that clearly, and to understand that healthy ocean is essential for our well-being and planet. And wherever you see water, you think about the ocean, and when you think about a healthy ocean, you think about a healthy planet. But if you don't have a healthy ocean, consequently you won't have a healthy planet. And there can be no healthy planet ecosystem without healthy ocean, and it's the ocean that our future sustenance by health or energy or food lies. We need to know the correct science so we can apply the correct relationship that will give succeeding generations of human beings a secure place on this planet. To protect the ocean, we first need to understand it. Words with a lot of wisdom. We need to stop, take a time to understand what is happening, learn and change the world in your own way as a society. Put your soul in whatever you do. I'm just one voice that represents human beings. Let's work as a community. We just have one ocean that connects all human beings. We may be from different places, talk in different languages, have different beliefs, or also different color of skin. But we are the same. We have the same objective that unite all of us. We want to save the world. We want to save the ocean. We just have one planet, one ocean, one voice. Raise your voice, not the sea level. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carter.
Hi, yeah, thank you for the well presentation. I'd like to move on to some of the questions that we have from the audience and also from the participants. Okay, I would like to first start off with how's the recruitment response for conservation volunteers that each of you guys has faced? Is it difficult to be able to outreach to volunteers, and how ready are they willing to volunteer for a good cause?
Yeah, sure, Anna.
Thank you, Carter and Luciana. I think of course, there's times where people aren't. I think if people don't know much about the issue, they won't be inspired enough to act on it. So I think if the people are well informed on what is happening, you always get a really big, like a huge amount of people wanting to help and everything. I've really seen that. For example, through Plastic Oceans Mexico, every time we do an awareness campaign, we get a ton of emails saying like, oh, I want to help, you know. But maybe if we do a campaign, like an event without doing an awareness campaign before, people feel a little bit further away from the issue. So I think raising awareness is really key to having the right amount of volunteers. And I also think something that has helped me a lot to move my projects forward and have more, like, get to know more people interested in this topic so they can help in further action and everything, are youth platforms such as the Pop Movement and Pop Ocean that I'm involved with, because they really help connect between people with the same interests, even if they're a different age or in a different city or anything. So I think this really has helped me meet a lot of people who have become interested in the same topics that I have, and we can work together as volunteers. Thank you.
Any more of the panelists wants to contribute to the recruitment response for conservation volunteers? Do you guys face any challenge? Luciana?
Yes. I think something important is to know that you are doing something good for your planet and not just for you, because people think that something that have happened to me really often is that they think that because you're young, you are not going to do things in the right way, and that's not true. You can have the initiative, and that's why it's really important to contact an advisor, or you can have the exchange with ideas with the specialists. But you as a youth can participate, and also other people. Everyone can participate. So have the conviction, and you can trust yourself and what you are doing, and that will help you a lot with taking a lot of decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Luciana. Talking about the recruitment response and the volunteers volunteering their time and efforts towards the ocean conservation, through which channel do you guys use for the volunteers to jump on board this conservation bandwagon? I mean, do you use social media, or is it through word of mouth and also through schools that you guys are in?
Well,
yeah, Luciana, please.
Yeah, I think everything. We may use social media. For example, Ocean Boys use social media, but not only the Ocean Boys. For example, in my state, there are so many places where people go to the school and try to make this awareness, and so we have different platforms, but the most usually is social media and in the schools.
I see. Is there any outreach to, say, other NGOs that you guys work with in terms of affiliation programs that it will benefit everybody? Yes, Anna, you are muted.
Okay, yes, yeah. So just really quickly, I think collaboration between different NGOs really works. For example, earlier today, well, this week we have been participating in something called the Blue Week, where we got in contact with about 5 different organizations who are related to the conservation of the sea. And this has really helped grow our volunteer list. Because, for example, people who were already following one of the organizations but weren't following us, they got to see that we were participating and that we were related to this NGO, and they participated in our activities, and the other way around. So I think working together with NGOs that attack the same issue really helps, because they already connected with people who are who want to make something to change that issue.
Right, thanks, Anna. I would like to ask the panelists if any of the panelists have outreach to mainstream news channel in your country, you know, like those mainstream news channel or radio station. If you have, how's their response? Yes, please, Luciana.
I think that's a good question. For example, in Cancun, I have done that with Plan for the Planet, and the public we got is different. So it's different when you start with the radio, and it's different when you spread the information in social media, because I think teenagers are more in social media than in the radio. But what we can do, we need to have different objectives. For example, if we spread our information and awareness in the radio, is mostly for older people or for adults, but if in a family way. And if we want to spread in social media like Instagram, Facebook, is more like searching for volunteers and like to spread what we are doing and like the action we are doing. So it's kind of different, but it depends on the objective of the NGO.
Definitely. The reason why I asked about the mainstream media, it's because, as we know, the youth, I'm glad and I'm very happy to see lots of youth nowadays contributing to the ocean conservation efforts. So I believe the reason why I asked this question is because this news, the future of ocean health lies with the younger generation. And who are the younger generation? It's all of you guys, those who are in universities, in secondary schools, and they are the important voices for the future and the health of the ocean. So for any of the mainstream media who is watching this, please, if you could, give them more support and get the message out, because this is ocean conservation is important. Okay, I think we are about to end this topic, but before we leave, I'd like to ask if from each panelist, what inspired each of you youths to advocate this efforts? Shall we start with our moderator, Luciana, please?
Yes, I think that's a good question too. You made really good questions. I think our objective of the youth and our work that we have to do is to empower more voices, because and prepare yourself. It is important to have to search for an advisor, because as you said, it's important to also include two other people. And what I said is, for example, the education council. I try to do it with all the schools, because it depends on the country and also in the context you are talking about. But in Mexico, we need to empower more youth and empower education, so you can understand it better and the youth can apply things better. So I think my work as youth is to empower other voices, as I am doing with Ocean Voice, and to learn from different people and learn from different I don't know, contexts, learn from different ideas and try to implement them and try to make it good.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. How about Anna?
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you for the question. I think it's really interesting because it's really interesting to hear how other people have been motivated to really take action and be inspired to follow this path of like environmental protection. In my case, as I mentioned during my presentation, it was more closely related to the moment I really learned what was happening and how the issues were directly related to our personal actions. And at that time, when I realized that the change in our actions and the change in our consumer habits and really being conscious of the decisions we make and how each decision impacts the environment was what really motivated me to stay conscious, stay alert, to every moment be thinking of how this decision will affect this, or how I can help to make a healthier environment.
Thank you, Anna. Shall we move on to Danielle?
Hi. So personally, I was inspired since I was young because, as I said earlier, the Philippines is an archipelagic country. So we're surrounded by bodies of water. And it started there. I fell in love with the ocean, and until now, I'm here fighting for it and advocating for it. I think it's important that we share the beauty of the ocean to other people, to other members of society. And as shown earlier, I really advocate for educating people in ways that are easy to understand, like through visuals, graphics, and all of that. So, thank you.
Thank you for your sharing. How about Kisha?
So for me, I was involved because I was exposed, because I live near the coast, and I can really say that engaging the youth is like a trial and error issue. We have to be creative and innovative in our own platforms, and most importantly, in engaging them, we have to provide them safe space. So, in our goal, objective is to really amplify and give voices to the youth, because we have to raise young leaders for conservation. We have to raise that kind of standard, young leaders, young movers. So we have to show them the real scenario. Especially in our case, we have a citizen science-led initiative that's data gathering for conservation. We are teaching them skills. We are trying to equip them for them to also not just volunteer but also take part in the process. So we really want to bring them back to the lens of consciousness. So that's what we are doing here in the Philippines. Over.
Thank you, Kisha, for your sharing. Now, how about, where's the last panel? Harrison, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Awesome. Let's hear about you. So my question is, what inspired each of you to advocate for this?
Okay, sorry, rain is really falling here. I can barely hear you.
Okay, I
Can you
repeat
repeat
again.
the question again?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
what
rain is falling.
Kisha you to advocate for this? No. What inspired you, Harrison, to advocate for this? Correction.
Well, Well, for me, basically, I think what inspired me much, I've always loved to take care of the environment at a very early age. Rain is falling here, as I said, so you might get a lot of noise. Rain. So I've always loved to take care of the environment at a very early age. And what I noticed around me was that people were just, people, the way young people and generally the population regarded the environment was not the best. It's like actually they didn't have the knowledge about the impact of their activities on the environment. So I thought it wise that it would be best to educate people about the environmental challenges and how their what the activities, the impact of the activities on the environment. So before I even went to college to read environmental engineering, I'd already started getting involved with protecting the environment, educating people in the community, especially farmers, with the issue of climate change. I saw how people felt the impact of climate change, but basically they didn't understand what was happening. So it was an opportunity to enlighten people, to talk to people. So basically that's what kept me going. It's just what is happening in the environment and how people regarded the environment that inspired me to start being an advocate. So that's all I can say.
All right, thanks for all your sharing, panelists and speakers. I'd like to end off this topic and session, and thanks for all the audience for tuning in to this topic, the next generation leaders with a global mindset. And thank you all the youth for your time, continuing to advocate for the ocean. The ocean needs you guys, the next youth, to continue the advocate, to continue to advocate for the next youth generation. So all the best. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.